Hi there, this is Teri with Adorable Decor, where we make and sell wreaths, and I do tutorials and videos to help you make your own wreaths, give lots of tips, and have lots of fun in our videos also. So today we're going to be making a tulip wreath, spring tulip wreath, and they're very popular but very simple to do, and I'm going to show you how to make one for yourself. Supplies that you're going to need to make your own tulip wreath include a styrofoam circular wreath base, and if you'll notice, this one's kind of squared off on the edges, and that's the kind I recommend. The more round ones are a little bit more difficult to work with, in my opinion, but this is a 12-inch styrofoam wreath base. You're going to need floral pins. You're going to need a ribbon. I recommend this satin 2.5-inch ribbon that is not wired. You can get a big roll like this at Michael's. It's very inexpensive. I can't remember the price on it, but this is 2.5 inches. I got 75 yards on this roll. And then you're going to need some tulips, and I recommend using mini tulips. There again, you can get those at Michael's, and they've got really nice mini tulip bushes. These have actually 8 separate stems on them, and kind of a variety of color. Generally, I use between 10 and 12 bushes per wreath form, and it just depends on how full you're going to make your wreath. And today I'm going to kind of alternate the pink and the white. Sometimes if you use just a solid color, it's just kind of blah. We're going to use these. We're going to put these white or cream colored ones with it to kind of perk it up just a little bit. You're going to need some wire cutters and a glue gun.
Okay, right here, I'm not sure what happened to the brief part of the video, but we had started wrapping our wreath frame with the satin ribbon, and we secured it with a floral pin and added a dab of glue right at the very beginning, and we just continue to wrap until the entire wreath base is covered.
Going to keep on going around, going around, going around. One supply, I forgot to tell you about, you're going to need a pair of scissors to cut your ribbon at the end. And I generally will place a little bit of glue here so that on this final one that I'm going to be pushing the floral pen through the glue. Okay, so now we have our wreath base finished. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. All you want is not to be able to see that white styrofoam. So now let's go ahead and let's clip off our few of our bunches. Tulips. And of course, they're always sticky. Sometimes it's more difficult than others to get the price tag off. I wish there was a way that they could put it on flower bushes, because sometimes you tear up your product trying to get the price tag off. So now, what I'm doing now, excuse me. Oh, and this one's missing a bud, but that's okay. What I'm doing, I'm taking the grass, because I'm going to keep that. And it just adds just a little bit of movement and interest to the wreath. But I'm going to move them up toward the end here. But you got to be careful that you don't push it up so hard that you're going to then pop off the wreath bud. Do that with each one of them. Now, if you do get carried away and you do pop one off, just take a little glue, stick it back on there. Now, we're going to trim those down to about, 1.5 inches down from where the leaves are. And I usually do, since I'm alternating colors, I'll do 2 bushes at a time, just so I can keep straight. If you're using all one color, you don't have to worry. You can do them all, or you can do it one at a time, whatever is your preference. Okay, there's that one. Let's do the same thing on this one. We're going to push those leaves up toward the front. And you'll notice, I mean, just because of the way they store the tulips, you're going to be missing a flower head here and there. It's just the nature of it. I try to inspect my bushes whenever I pull them out of the display, to make sure that they've all got their heads, but I should underline the word try. These actually somebody else packaged up for me, because I bought them online and I went and picked them up. They were all sacked up once I went to pick them up. So, okay, now let's get started. And generally, I will take a couple of flower bunches, place them together, and I kind of stagger them just a little bit, just like that. And we're gonna put one bunch in the inside, the next bunch is gonna go on the outside. We're gonna kind of stagger it like that. So I'm gonna zoom in here, guys, so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Okay. Just like that. Put a little bunch of glue on there. Now, like I said, we're going to kind of alternate. And since this one went to the inside, what I mean by that is the tip of the where I cut it is going toward the inside of the wreath. I'm going to then, the next bunch is going to come out this way. Keep on that same pattern all the way around the wreath. Now, if you wanted it a little less focused, you could have, so you could pick up a pink and a white at the same time. Actually, I'm thinking I might like that better. Let's do that. it's whatever you like. You just gotta experiment around. You're gonna make some wreaths that you like. You're gonna make some that you don't. I've got a wreath graveyard actually behind me that all of them are things that didn't sell, and well, not all of them, I shouldn't say. There's a few new things, but got them together and they didn't sell. Now we're going to redo them and make them into something a little bit different. And you're going to see some of these petals too that are kind of turned wrong side out. If you just take your finger in there and turn them the right side, just it's easier if you go ahead and do it when as you're putting that leaf or that flower bunch on. It's easier to do it right then instead of waiting to try to fix them all at the end. Yeah, I like the staggered, kind of like this, better than putting the two pinks and the two whites together. Oh, put that down in the glue. What I did, I realized that I had it going the wrong direction. And we're going to have a stray petal that doesn't want to behave and stay with his friends, so we're going to stick that in there too, just like that. Now he's good as new. But you can make it, like I say, any kind of style of tulip wreath. I've seen them in the heart shapes. I've seen them where they're just a half moon shape on a grapevine. I love tulips. Like I said, makes me think about spring. Like I said, we're going down about an inch and a half. Oops, forgot to take the price tag off on that one yet. Okay, get that price tag off now. Oh goodness, that one's wrapped all around the flowers. Came off easy though. I think these wreaths really make a good size too. Say if you had a loved one in the hospital or in a nursing home, what a better way to cheer them up. They can look up and see that hanging on their wall or on their door. And some hospitals limit live flowers for a variety of reasons, but you know, there shouldn't be any problem at all with the silk flowers. There we go. Okay, let's get going again on our pattern. I'm loving those colors. And if you have an Etsy shop or if you're going to a craft show in the spring, tulip wreaths always sell. They're an easy sell. There again, I think everybody's suffering from cabin fever and long winters and such. It just makes a little bit of sunshine. Yeah, I need to stagger that a little bit differently. There we go. They go together pretty quickly. I'm sitting here talking, but if I weren't talking, I could get, whip one out in 30, 45 minutes. Probably quicker if I paid attention. Some things I do kind of slow, but I'm not a big one on them trying to race to the finish line. I like to take the time, do things right, relax. This is a pretty relaxing pattern to work with because you don't have to think real hard. Got all your thinking over with by the time you get to this point. And you'll notice that you've got some spaces, but when we get close to being done, you'll come back and kind of even out some of the unevenness, if that makes sense. Is that a word? Yeah, because you want it all to look uniform. And you want them all to be going the same direction. That's one thing I forgot to tell you. Make sure that they're all going in the same direction. It's real easy to get turned or tripped up whenever you get to the middle or to the outside. But you want them all going the same direction, all the tulip heads. See what I mean about the grass kind of sticking up and kind of giving a little bit of movement? You think about a wreath hanging on a door frame. The wind blows or you're opening and shutting the door. It kind of sways in the wind. Now we're getting to the end here, and when we get up in this part, that's when it starts getting a little bit tricky. Not difficult tricky, but just a little bit awkward, I should say. Not liking that one particular head there. Let's kind of close him up just a little bit. Looks like he's got some glue down in here. There we go. That should hopefully help a little bit. We'll stick him underneath, so all his buddies will hold him in the right direction. Okay. Keep it on moving. Depending on what part of the country you're from. Like I said, I always think spring when I see the tulips start popping up through the ground. But here in Indiana, a lot of times the tulips have snow on them. We've been going through some crazy weather here lately. It's like I don't know, whether every couple of days it's warm and then it turns cold. Today's turned to a cold day, as you can see from my attire. Cold, and it was sleeting the last time I was upstairs. I'm a warm weather person. I don't know what I'm doing here in Terre Haute, Indiana. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Met the love of my life. Good man. He's been worth it. Worth the move. Yeah, I always said when my kids were little I was going to move. And once they got grown up, I was going to go south because I hate cold weather. But here I am. I went even farther north. Guess there's pros and cons to every place you live. Like I said, I've got a good man. He was worth it. Okay. Ah. Now, if you are in the business of making and selling wreaths, I'd recommend doing this as a, doing it in batches. Maybe get you a bunch of wreath frames and go ahead and wrap them. Have them ready, and then start doing start putting your flowers on. Okay, like I said, here comes the awkward part here. Trying to get these underneath of here. Make them all look nice and neat. Alright, probably one more little bunch there for this part, and then we'll move on to the inside. I've got to slip them in there. So I'm going to flop these over. So I think there's just a little bit too much pink together and a little bit too much white. There we go. That kind of breaks it up just a little bit better. Oh, pushing the wreath form up out of sight for you guys. Didn't want to go through, but I realized I was trying to stick it through the leaves. There we go. Goodness. Get all these petals where they belong. Stick a little glue on here now. Okay, now we're going to be ready to go to the inside. Now, if you do have a floral pin that's showing, you can always, when you're gluing, you can always take that leaf or a flower petal and just stick it on that glue. I'm going to trim off one of these stems. I got just a little bit too long. Okay. All right, so that's what we have so far, guys. We're going to keep on going. Believe me, it's going to turn into something beautiful. Still got a lot of work to do. Okay, now we're going to start on the inside, and there again, we want all the petals to be, or all the blossoms facing in the same direction. We're going to be going clockwise. I'm going to go ahead and turn this up. Hopefully you can see it okay from that side. The inside tends to fill up pretty quickly. And I suppose if you wanted to, oops, I missed one of those. I suppose if you wanted to, you could do the inside first. I've always done it the outside first, so just to each his own. It might be a little bit less awkward if you did it that way. And that's one thing there. If you heard me well, I missed one of the stems. You want to make sure that you get each one of those glued in well.
We're going to speed this up just a little bit. We're going to continue in the inside of the wreath frame in the same direction. Just follow the same pattern.
Okay, now we've got the middle and the front done. Now we just need to do around the sides. That's what we have so far. They get beautiful. Okay, and we're just going to keep doing the same thing on the sides here. And there again, it needs to be going the same direction. Raise you up just a little bit here. Okay. I'm going to turn around this way so I can see a little better. And this is when you want to start kind of watching and making sure that you're filling out some of these uneven spots. You want to make sure that it's nice and uniform all the way around your wreath. Oh, I'm hitting another. There we go. What I mean by that is nice and even around the edges. My finger right in that glue. Don't do that. Some of these petals are really misshapen, and I want to be sure that I stick those toward the inside. Okay, see how that's coming along, and it's nice and even on the circumference there.
Okay, now we're going to continue around the wreath frame on the outside, again going in the same direction that we were before. I'm going to speed this up a little bit so you don't have to suffer through the boring part.
With the beginning row of tulips. Oops, the little guy ran off from me. One thing also you want to keep in mind when you're pressing in your flower pins or your floral pins, watch to make sure you're angling them where you're not going to stick your finger. And who would have ever thought that wreath making could be so dangerous? But it can be. I've been burnt, I've been stuck, I've cut my fingers. There's all kinds of ways you can get hurt, but the more you practice, the less that happens. I have to say, knock on wood, I haven't had a bad burn in a long time now. Last time I said that, I ended up blistering myself like in a couple of days, so I better be careful saying anything like that. But girl that does my nails, she used to hate seeing me come in. Whoops. This will be the last bunch that we put on like this. Oops. So I see a hole there I'm trying to fill in. And at the same time I'm trying to keep my hand out of the glue. It is still cooling. I need to stick just a few more right in there. Got a little space. So I'm going to do it one bunch at a time. And I think we need some pink. We got a lot of white going on right there. I just need to slide that down in there. There again, working to keep my fingers out of the glue. Okay, made it all the way around, inside and out. Put a little glue on here. Okay, that's what we have so far, guys. And I need to look where I can look at it straight on here, and I've got a few spaces we're going to have to fill in. So there again, we want a nice round full tulip wreath. And I've got a little hole right here, and it's just a little sparse in a few places. So I'm going to stay standing up like this, and we'll back you out there, but I'm going to stand up so that I can look at it straight on and fill in those holes as we need to. I can see a hole right here. And there again, we're just trying to make the complete full circle. Every time I stick a tulip in, I want to be sure and glue down that floral pin. There we go, that rounded that out nicely. And where else? I've got a little hole right here. I think we're going to need pink there. Kind of got a white, actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to use a little white there. I ended up, a couple of my bushes were a little shy on flower heads. So I've got an uneven number now. There we go. We're just going to nestle that down in there. Got this big ugly head there that I want to put that in, kind of center that in there. If need be, we'll glue the petals where they need to go. But we're not quite to that stage yet. But if he doesn't start behaving, we're going to have to do something with him. Okay, same thing with the inside. We're going to even it out. I got a little emptiness right over here. Before you glue it in, you want to test it out. Make sure you're happy with it. I think that's going to work just fine. Right here. I'm going to try and use this whole bush so I don't have any just stray tulip sitting around. Fill that back in there. I don't know, I think that looks pretty good and round. See what you think. See how that kind of evened out everything? Got a nice full circle. I think it's beautiful. We still have just a few left over, and I'll always when I make something, I go back after I let it set for a little bit. I come back and check it over, because then's when things kind of stick out like a sore thumb, if there's any issues. But I'm happy with where we're at right now. I do still have just a few. Like I said, I had a couple of the pink bushes that didn't have any heads on them. I guess they just got completely pulled off while they were in the display. You know, they stuff them down in there, and somebody pulls them out, and you know, off goes their head. So that's all I have for you now. I will put a wreath hanger on this. I usually just take a pipe cleaner, and I stick the floral pins and glue here. I put a piece of felt over the top of it. I don't believe I have any finished ones I can show you right now, but I'll do that in another video. But thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, be sure, and I'd appreciate it if you would be sure and share it to your Facebook page, Instagram, Pinterest. That's kind of like my tip jar every time I get a share. So thanks again, and stay tuned for next one coming up.